You're listening to the Unsung Podcast, where we talk about classic albums and decide if they deserve that distinction. And we also talk about some unsung classics in the hopes of bringing them to a new audience. And at the end of it all, we let you decide if we were right or wrong. This is the Unsung Podcast. You're listening to the Unsung Podcast, and this is episode 28. On the last episode, we discussed Crazy For You by Best Coast, and the public decided that it should not go into our discography. So thank you very much to everybody who listened. On this episode, we are talking about Blue Album by Baroness. Hope you enjoy it. Hi, you're listening to the Unsung Podcast. I am your host, Mark Fraser, and I'm joined by two men who've just made up after last week's throwdown.
Whoa. We never fell out. We're adults and we're capable of disagreeing over something as shoddy as Best Coast and remaining friends.
I've still got the fucking scratch marks to prove it.
Sitting to my
You've
right.
got so many scratch marks to choose from, though. I mean,
yes, true, actually.
Sitting
That's
to
a different story for another time.
Sitting to my right is Chris Cusack, Urban Outfitters' latest clothing designer.
reverse psychology. Treat them mean, keep them keen. Sitting to my left is David Weaver, who only buys vinyl from Urban Outfitters because it smells of potpourri.
I actually did get my this jumper from Urban Outfitters.
I don't doubt it.
Is that the one the same colour as your t-shirt?
Best Coast.
It's velour. That's a lifestyle choice I've made.
Best Coast got into his head. It's like subliminal. It's like if you wind the vinyl backwards from Best Coast, it tells you the prices and the new range.
So we're not talking about an Urban Outfitters record.
No, we're definitely not.
Definitely not.
We're talking about Blue Records
By
Baroness.
as opposed to the many other bands that have a Blue record.
Which is
your choice,
my choice, and it's definitely going into discography, so thanks very much for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Mark's generally had a fairly tough time in this programme with his selections.
Not all the time.
Do you know what your ratio is? Have you dared?
I have not. I've not calculated.
Can you remember any that you got in?
Yeah. Violator by Depeche Mode.
The fucking second record.
Fourth episode. DJ Shadow introducing. I was backing that hard.
That was his, yeah.
Well, it's as much Weaver's that one. I associate that with Dave.
That's kind of it, really, I think.
Yeah. So high hopes for this one then, Mark. Eh?
Well, I picked this on the same basis I've picked records in the past as well. This is for me my favourite. I think it is the best Baroness record, but I don't think people will think it is, which we're definitely going to get into.
That is an absolutely valid starting point for this podcast, because you don't want to just pick something that everybody nods their head at. Everyone knows that's great. Yeah, so I'm definitely up for hearing why, not just why it should go in, but why it's in your mind the best Baroness record.
I should qualify that by saying I don't think they've ever written a bad record either. So for me, it's a very tough choice.
Until the start of last week, I had never listened to a single note that Baroness had played. despite hearing their name for ages.
This is interesting. It's weird that you never listened to them.
I had friends that went to see them multiple times, and every time I just happened to miss it. It's the kind of thing I would usually go and see before I'd listen to.
They are phenomenal live. I've seen them live every time they played in Glasgow, and they're fucking really, really good live.
So it was a bit of an expenditure, but I got I think more or less the full back catalogue, as well as getting some copies of some early demos and stuff like that to try and really figure out where they came from. Not geographically.
Well, interesting enough,
Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
Which is a thing that whole kind of Georgia deep south has kind of got its own kind of sludgy kind of vibe.
Sludge metal.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of I Hate God. I was a big fan of I Hate God some time back. And this is definitely not I Hate God.
It's not.
Well, no.
I don't understand how this qualifies as sludge metal in any way.
I mean, I guess they all. I think they come out of that scene, though, don't they?
Well, I Hate God or New Orleans sludge metal. That's a very different sort of
true.
Like real sludge. But then, in the sort of early 2000s, there was this sort of burgeoning scene from Georgia that sort of took that sound but added a bit more a bit more prog, some more intricacy, bit more just a bit more progressive in terms of their
Kailisa and Black Tusk.
Black Tusk,
fucking great
Mastodon,
band.
Torch,
good band too.
and Baroness were one of them as well. And I think for me, my first time hearing anything like that was Relapse sampler, and I heard Mastodon, Where Strides the Behemoth, I think, from Mastodon's first record, and I don't think I'd ever heard anything as brutally as heavy as that. And then I sort of just kept going on and investigating and finding out about this stuff. And then the first time I heard Baroness was I think it was second. Their albums have been coloured, but the EPs before that were just called First and Second.
Mm-hmm.
And second, I can't remember how I got it, because I think I was still living at home, or maybe I was at university. I don't know. But I can't actually. Funnily enough, I can't remember how I got music then. Maybe I picked it up on it like
under a bridge somewhere.
But I got that second EP and thought it was really, really good, because I don't know, it just had riffs.
Yeah,
I just fucking love
they do riffs very well.
I thought the EPs were primitive but good. Like there was something nice about them. They sounded like a band that could do with like better production, maybe like a little bit of like maturity, but there was some pretty cool stuff in there, and you could hear a lot of like the influences a bit more nakedly as well.
Yeah.
There was some really interesting stuff when I was doing the research about Baroness to try and get a bit of context about them as well. Some really interesting sort of background onto where that sound came from. The main guy in the band, John Baizley, was his middle name?
John Dyer Baizley. Yeah.
Dyer Baizley.
He's the only original member left.
Yeah, he's the only original guy, and he was speaking to a few different magazines about it. He spoke to Pop Matters and was talking about how so many of those guys were fans of speed metal, but that literally in the south, especially in Georgia, you couldn't play speed metal. He's like, you were going to practice and you just couldn't play music at that speed. It's like stiflingly, bakingly moist and hot and claustrophobically warm. He said that affected the tuning as well. He was like, see, in terms of keeping the instruments tuned, he said they tuned down, and that was just like, that was kind of part of it.
That's exactly why I Hate God and Down and things like that sound like they do,
because everything
the sort
relaxes
of Louisiana.
Stretches,
it is, it's not an affectation. It's like that reflects their surroundings.
I can only keep the string in tune if it's loose.
I've been in Georgia and I've been in Louisiana in July, and you can't fucking do anything. It's 40 degrees, but it's also 100% humidity.
Yeah, that's the
thing that kills you.
It's so close. It's that whole kind of like sitting with a vest on the porch, like can't move thing. There was like there was a kind of interesting sort of circumstantial thing as well, because Georgia and the Bible Belt's all pretty infamous, even for us over here, and because that region, that area is so conservative, albeit I think Savannah is actually a bit of a democratic enclave within Georgia.
Yeah.
But because that Georgia and those states are so notoriously like conservative right and Christian conservative right, there is within the bands and within the art scene, there's a little bit of a sort of pushback on that, which tends to make them go into slightly more extreme rebellious things, punk rock and metal and things like that. And he said that was part of it, to demarcate that you were not one of these Christian affiliated sort of evangelicals. You're like speaking out against it. You're
you
embracing.
don't get many sort of art house indie bands from Georgia.
No, not that you hear of anyway. Yeah, it seems like people are like, want to do something shocking to upset that establishment, as metal kind of originally was, punk was. You start wearing like metal t-shirts and singing about Satan and adopting those occult things to upset that Christian establishment that exists around there, and it's what kind of makes sense in a lot of ways.
It's very interesting when you think about the artwork that the band have. Like a lot of metal bands have definitely go down that route, whereas Baroness,
they're kind of the opposite.
Have not, and that's kind of John's style generally.
Yeah, so John Baizley does all the artwork for Baroness, as well as a whole bunch of other bands.
Many
well.
other bands, yeah, including the Jane Doe live thing. He did a cover for that too.
Yeah, he's done Pig Destroyer, an excellent band. Daughter's Torch that you mentioned. Flight of the Conchords, believe it or not. And he's done like Metallica as well, I believe.
Actually, we can go into the Nexus just now if you want.
I'd love to hear the Nexus.
Whoa, well, can we play the jingle first?
Yeah, the jingle's got to come in. Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, what a jingle. Well done, Chris.
You're welcome.
You're killing it every week.
It's starting to eat into my time, but it's worth it.
So, speaking of artwork, he did artwork for a Norwegian band called Kevlartak, and Kevlartak, where their debut album went gold in their native Norway, and they were presented the award by none other than Mr. Dave Grohl.
That's pretty good, actually. Well done. Yeah. Good work.
Two steps.
You're applying yourself to
I'm
this.
applying myself.
Alright, well, we should play the
outro,
second part of the jingle to get out.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, I know.
I think their artwork though is like
exceptional.
Exceptional,
I do really
and
like it. It's very
it ties their work together beautifully.
This might
aesthetically.
sound needlessly pretentious, but that weird take that he's got in human form and the approach to it really reminds me of an artist called Klimt, who's famous for a painting called The Kiss, especially, but like obviously has a hell of a lot of other stuff. And there's like a really kind of postmodern take on Klimt. It's beautiful artwork. It's really worth checking out, actually. I think we've talked about linking images from past episodes on the website, but we will try to remember to link to the gallery on John Baizley's website, which is pretty awesome. Just
and
even for
throwback to Converge as well. He's often mentioned in the same breath as Jacob and does exhibitions and stuff with them as well. So he's definitely up there with some of the best, and apparently his price is very reasonable as well if you ask for artwork. So we're definitely like spoiling for a retweet from him this weekend. Maybe we could get him to do some unsung artwork.
I mean, let's wait until the end of the podcast to
but
see
there is something that sort of clashes with this normal sort of music, or the normal artwork for music like this, and the stuff that he does, this sort of like very light watercolor, very the palette's very beautiful. Compare that to other sludgy stuff.
We never even mentioned Corrosion of Conformity, by the way. I think that's
another
a pretty big touchstone for this band,
yeah.
Albeit there's a bit more psychedelia on these guys.
Truth never tries to hide any convenient pride.
So
psychedelia is kind of the road they have definitely went down since
medieval psychedelia, I think, at points. So I mean, there's a few other interesting circumstances around Baroness.
Good story, yeah.
They're pretty infamous for a near fatal bus crash that they were involved in near Bath in England, aren't they?
Yeah, after on the yellow and green tour, yeah, which subsequently caused the drummer and bass player to leave the band, because that's going to fuck your life up. John had to learn how to play guitar all over again because he almost completely lost mobility in his left arm.
He had a broken arm, broken leg, or other.
Yeah, he had to completely. I think he was in hospital he was definitely in hospital over here for a long time, 3 or 4 weeks, I think. And then he went back home, and yeah, he was, like I said, had to relearn to play guitar again. And there's actually a really good video. I remember, because I'm a big fan of the band. Well, it was like maybe a year and a half after the bus crash had happened. There's a song on Yellow and Green called Stretch Marker, which is like an instrumental kind of semi-acoustic song, and there's a video of him and Pete playing it, and I don't know where it is, but maybe it's Pete's house, maybe it's John's house, and they're both playing it on acoustic guitar, and it's the first time like he'd had to completely relearn to play how to even hold a guitar, and it was a really nice moment to see him actually come to terms with that and doing that. But he's spoken in interviews and stuff about how that really got him down, because like not only could he not tour, but he couldn't fucking do art either, which is like his living,
The guys that left, was it Maggioni and Blickel? Is that right?
Yeah.
Those guys, I think they had like fractured vertebrae, so it was like pretty severe for them. It was a big fright. And I think just to explain why everybody got hurt so badly, it's like the brakes failed in a bus during some really severe weather, and apparently it fell off of a viaduct, 30 feet, and it's like
rolled,
and rolled, and so like it was
a proper movie crash.
Quite a mess, it wasn't just like bumping into the back of a Citroen kind of thing. It
was all over the news and everything. Yeah. And here, I remember seeing it on BBC News, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why are Baroness on BBC News?"
They could have been on it for much sadder circumstances.
Exactly.
So it's
they were lucky,
merciful that they.
But everyone recovered, and like you said, the rhythm section left. But with every album they've kind of done, they've had a different rhythm section. I've never seen them live with the same 4 members.
Which is interesting, and I suppose we go back to that first point of why this record, and like every record, has basically a different band kind of doing it. And I think you can tell that, and so it's just interesting as to why you think Blue's the best one, and maybe it's got to do with who the band are maybe as well, rather than just where the band were in their stage of career in terms of the sound of each record. I think
at this point it's very clear that it's John and Pete who are like the ones who like it shepherded the band through everything musically. I think most people would probably go with Red if we're going to pick a Baroness album as being the best, but for me that's got a lot of really good songs on it. Isaac, obviously, Grad, Raising Pinion. That kind of stuff. Like most of the records are really good.
I think the Birthing is maybe.
But I think so many good songs on it. It's great. It's a phenomenal record, man.
I think the Red album got like Album of the Year awards and stuff like that, and it is like a bit. It's still quite proggy and quite out there. It's got some like real post metal stuff happening in it as well. It's quite sprawling. I think the vocals are rougher on it.
Yeah,
the vocals are a bit nastier.
Bit more Metallica.
There was some really interesting, like, obviously somebody compared them, or maybe they can describe themselves as so King Crimson meets Neurosis.
It's probably accurate.
Was a phrase that was kicking around. And even though the earlier stuff, including Red, was a little bit rawer, supposedly the description was that they went a little bit more Rush and a little bit less I Hate God with each subsequent release.
Definitely more psychedelic. Definitely incorporating a lot more of that. That's why I like this record so much, because it's got the best balance of old and new. And when I first
there's a real mixed reaction though as they changed. I mean, that's the thing, like people can be quite precious about a band if they love them early on, and I have to say I think I've found it easier to enjoy their earlier stuff. It's maybe a good time to put cards on the table here. I think this is a terrible album. Right? But I don't think they're a terrible band, but I cannot get with it at all. I really quite like Red, and I like the earlier EPs. I found it more direct. If the earlier EPs had been recorded well, I think they could be great. Red is fine. It's got some really good stuff in it, and there's good ideas through everything they do. But this album it's weird to me. I want to like it, but I really can't. Like I hear moments of it where I'm like, yes, we're going into a Mastodon bit, and then it just bottles it and goes all medieval England 12-string guitar fucking.
Real in place till the bastards take me away. Sober taste of
Yeah, there's
Spinal Tap.
definitely some, when they step away from the heaviness, I don't think they quite have the chops
It's
to
comedic.
pull it off.
I really think it's almost like
I think
so, man. I fucking
like
love all
Steel
that,
That
man.
Sleeps the Eye, I
Amazing.
think is
Steel That
really
Sleeps the Eye is-
shit and
oh
cheesy.
My goodness. It's
I
like,
love that.
it's
Nah.
like cringe-worthy bad.
I think that's wonky and horrible. I
me-
just think it sounds really cheesy. It
And
does.
the,
It's
and
like
then the fact that they then use that line in the track after it as well.
yeah.
Halo. I love every song on this record. Jake Leg was the one for me, which really pulled me in though.
I think Jake Leg's an absolute beast.
Yeah, total beast.
I think it's a really, really good song. It's got a Queens of the Stone Age vibe to it. It's like, it's not metal, it's like rock. And I think that's maybe where this album, I'm
Jake
going
Leg's
to
pretty cool. Like there's a bit
Yeah.
like 1 minute around about the 1 minute mark is a really great bit. The only thing about it is that the drumming in it's great on Jake Leg, but see the way that the drums are recorded in this and the way that they're mixed, it's really fucking cold and really removed from the rest of the mix. It's like it you can tell that it's been multi-tracked, but you can also tell that the way it's been reintegrated, I mean the reverb or whatever that's been used, it really doesn't sound like it's part of the same world for me. Like listening to it, I just couldn't.
Well, it's interesting. So Red had been produced by can't remember his name, but he was from Kylesa, another really excellent band who I maybe will talk about one day on this because they're fucking shit hot. And Red to me is a bit more organic. There's more space to it. It's got a bit more post rock to it as well, I think.
Yeah, they claimed this
but
was
it's
a sister
also
album to it. Like
Yeah, and then coming to this, so this and then Green and Yellow was produced by John Congleton,
yeah,
who was also in
Paper Chase.
Yeah, Paper
I've
Chase.
interviewed John Congleton. He's a very, very nice man, and I really love a lot of his music. He's also done stuff for like Marilyn Manson
Yeah.
and Celine Dion. I mean, he's
He's
Oh, a lot of
worked.
stuff.
Yeah, like St Vincent and
Yeah.
Sigur Rós.
but
and-
by contrast, the Paper Chase is like angular, nasty. Really sinister, like tonally as well as like sound wise, like
Crazy,
it-
just
like
utterly
it's
insane.
brilliant. I mean,
Mm.
there's a Paper Chase album I'm really hoping that we can do an episode of the show on once, but I don't hear.
What's interesting is looking at his discography of production credits. There's no metal there,
Yeah,
apart from maybe Marilyn Manson, but even that's like glam metal. There's no actual metal.
yeah, it's pop metal. Yeah.
And when you listen to the production on Blue, it doesn't sound like it's a metal band doing metal riffs, but the production is not metal. Fair enough. Sometimes that
It's
would
dead
appeal
flat.
to me, but
Mm.
I like when people produce something in a non-traditional way, but it just doesn't quite work for me. I don't get the spark that the Red album had, because when there was lots of space in the Red album, it was like there was reverby space and there was like, just a bit of dirt to it or something, even though
No, it
it's
was.
actually a very clean album.
But it was.
But this is very clinical.
It's raw. You can imagine some slightly nastier looking waveforms when you see the screen. This is a bit too controlled, and I feel it comes across quite flat. Even when it threatens to actually get pretty banging, the banging doesn't really happen because it's just too kind of like within itself. it kind of misses the target. And
I think it's a good album, and I think it's a very impressive album. I think it's very well written, and there's some really, really good riffs. But yeah, for me, I never, because I really liked Baroness. Listen to those first EPs, and then Red Album I thought was brilliant, and so I was ready for this album. You know, when it came out, I was like, yeah, I really want to like this, and I just never fell in love with it. Like I'd fallen in love with the Red Album, and like I'd fallen in love with the first 3 Mastodon records.
It's really encouraging to hear as well that you're picking up the same thing as me.
It's not just you. Like a lot of people have said that.
Yeah,
you know, about the
I mean, I
production on
think
it.
like a really good illustration of what Dave's saying is that the Sweetest Curse, because to me that starts a wee bit like a lazy Mastodon. Right, it's sort of in the same vein, but it lacks the energy of it, whether it's the take or just whatever the writing. I really love the wee hi-hat that they use in that. It's nice and different. It tries to get heavy, but it just can't. Like, it tries to step it up, but it's too clean.
I mean, like the end of War, Wisdom and Rhyme as well, which is where it's a big, you know, everything's all in and the vocal is huge, but it kind of feels...
It's timid. It's just, there's something there. And I actually, like, it was frustrating because I was listening to it in headphones for a lot of it because I was travelling, and I just felt like my volume was too low the whole way through. I just wanted more insult to my eardrums, and there was nothing there. It was like they were totally relaxed listening to metal, and it doesn't feel like my eardrums should be relaxed listening to this, you know.
See, the thing I think I think it's a fair point. I know that the production's definitely split a lot of people that I know who I felt would definitely love this band, and I've always been like listening to Blue Record, and like the production just pulls me out of that. For me, I don't mind it. This is a record for me which is a band taking chances and rolling the dice in a really big way, and that lends it, to me, it lends it a lot of charm. Even if it is a cold record, it does feel very like...
I mean, in terms of composition, I think it's a very impressive record.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they're doing here which they didn't do before, and could have fallen really flat and pays off really well. Like the Gnashing, for example, that's a phenomenal song.
I feel like the Gnashing like seems like it's going to build into something and then just never fucking gets there.
I like that. I like that about it, because it's a band that's exploring the boundaries of what they can do.
It's like climbing a fucking Munro, and at the top you just find a spar. You're like, it's like, what the fuck is the point?
One thing I was going to say though, like you're talking about how like it feels as though it never really gets there with the heaviness. I don't know if that's production, because that's kind of how they are live as well now. Sound wise, like guitar sound wise.
Well, that's what
I want to be jealous. I want to be generous here, but I don't think you can put this album's failings purely down to production. In my opinion, I just don't.
No, I kind of agree, and that's why.
I mean, there's an ironic element throughout this. They're obviously a bit more theatrical, and I'm saying medieval, but there's a bit more of the harmonised fucking tongue-in-cheek thing.
It's clear they love stuff like Rush, and they love like big, huge, like pop rock stuff, you know.
Like, so you take a band like the fucking Champs, for example. They give big nods to that, but there's a level of like knowing irony, and I know irony can be boring, especially in metal. It's not particularly popular, but if you're going to be ironic, if you're going to be kind of cutting edge, you have to really go for it. By contrast, if you're going to be totally earnest and sincere and commit to doing really cheesy fucking metal like fucking Manowar or something like that, you have to commit to doing that. And I feel like Baroness are on the fence because they're kind of cool. You get people that would go to see Trans Am and the fucking Champs, and the drummer from Trans Am joined them, so and Trans Am obviously did the fucking AM with the fucking Champs, so there's a bit of a connection in terms of that ironic metal harmonised nod, cheesy solo, don't we just love this guilty pleasure thing. But it's on the fence. It's like it's on the fence between, are we doing this because it's funny, or are we doing this because we are righteous metal warriors? And I just kind of feel like they don't really pick a side there. It's sort of non-committal, and it really alienated me. It kind of pulled me out of it. And then so when they do like stupid segues, like fucking, what's it called?
What could you have no?
Black Powder Orchard? Is that the one
before the Gnashing? Yeah.
Yeah, and that Okiji hymnal thing is Like, yeah, I just can't get with it at all. It doesn't work. I would say Horse Called Golgotha is the best track on it, in my opinion. I think that's really good, and it's got like a weird indie vibe at the start as well. It's not a typically metal intro.
That's what I'm saying. This record takes chances as a band, which should obviously
Once.
not like
No, it
everything
does.
wise.
It
Like
does
it's
take
like all the songwriting choices on it, the production choice is definitely very unorthodox. All of it is just like
Fuck it did take a chance that it was at O'er Hell and Hyde, where they have that obligatory metal album. We need a spoken word sample over the metal in the background. Oh, yeah, well, it's every
it goes on a bit too long.
every
to be
metal
fair.
album ever has the spoken word sample, film dialogue over the riff thing. It's like, fuck, man, that is like it's such a trope.
The harmonised guitars, which I do quite a lot of, are almost Maiden-esque, but not quite there, which is what I like about it. I think there's a bit of irony involved, but also I think maybe a lot of it is sincerity as well. Look at his artwork, for example. Like, it's clearly that he's not a huge metal guy. That he loves things.
It's got a song
like,
called War, Wisdom and Rhyme. I mean, fuck, man, I just like want to fold myself inside out when I fucking see that track. It doesn't matter what that song sounds like. As it happens, it's crap, but it doesn't matter how it sounds, because it's such a fucking terrible name unless you're going to go balls to the wall, full fucking metal, and they don't. And I just think as a result, you're just kind of left feeling like, oh man, this is like a joke with no punchline.
This is also a very like sort of transitional album as well, because they do move a lot further away from metal on Yellow and Green, and then even more. Well, they actually come back to a little bit in Purple, but it sounds weird.
I saw The Guardian refer to Purple as an unmistakable lunge for mainstream glory.
I think that's
based on my fucking previous comments about Best Coast last week.
I'd say that's absolutely accurate. Like, for example, the choruses shock me. The harmony alone is enough to say that that's supposed to be a stadium rock song, fucking easily.
And
Yeah,
Kiss
they're
already have a better
definitely
song
go
for it.
But I mean, what is mainstream metal? You might as well fucking go for it if you've done.
I think it's clear
4
that's what
albums
they're
of
like,
sweaty.
and that's what they're going towards.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to
I
be
don't hold any
mainstream
grudges.
though to do metal well. Like Mastodon are not mainstream. Mastodon took the mountain to Muhammad. They were, I mean, they are mainstream now in the sense that they're successful, but
They're as close to you
their
as you'll
music
get,
is
yeah.
not accessible in terms of. It was a sheer.
No, they did that one record where they had 3-minute songs and
Yeah,
choruses,
I mean,
and
but
that.
stuff like Leviathan and stuff is like it's
Yeah, no, but
huge
they weren't
and
playing.
groundbreaking for them. And
Yeah, no, but they weren't playing. They weren't playing huge places until, their 5th or 6th record.
Yeah, I just mean in terms of it's relatively uncompromising. And I think this certainly the stuff I listened to Purple and I listened to a bit to Yellow and Green as well, and I think that's more compromised than a lot of the Mastodon stuff, or at least Mastodon persevered with their own sound longer. And
I gave up on Mastodon a while back though.
I think
I'm-
Baroness.
in
I'm-
a similar way
I'm
as
not a
Baroness.
big advocate for Mastodon. I think Mastodon have got some great stuff and some dross, but I do think it's at least a little bit more focused and committed to what it wants to do.
I
And
think Baroness are as well. I think you need to take it on wide scale though. Like, you can, they're a band that have clearly been moving towards like being like a kind of a prog pop metal band. Like, that's clearly what they've been moving towards.
Yeah,
You
and
have to look at it through the prism of where it is now as opposed to where it used to be. Hi, sorry for just barging in here. We've taken to doing these podcasts in the same machine that they used to do teletext on. So it's becoming increasingly difficult to actually create a quality product for you lovely people.
What you can't actually tell is this is a black and white audio.
It is, yeah.
So if you can donate, then
3:4
we can
ratio
start
as well.
putting out colour audio.
And widescreen.
And widescreen, yeah.
Yep.
Full format. I'll have birds whistling in the background. You'll be able to hear trolleys going. Wait, we've already got that.
Rival pods with inferior content are broadcasting in UHD and 4K, so I feel we should try and get at least somewhere close to that.
Exactly. So if you can help us to attain this goal by going to www.unsongpod.net/donate, and we can get rid of the teletext machine and maybe buy a CFAX machine or something like that.
Unsongpod.net/donate.
Talking about this, it's like, for me, Red Album is my favourite because that's what I like from a band. I like that. Not quite as perfect, it's less clinical. But looking at the band as a whole, I think maybe Blue is the one that defines them best, because that's
exactly.
actually more what they are as a band.
Mm-hmm. That's clearly where they've been going.
But see, okay, so my overriding impression of this, and just try to read between the lines a wee bit, and it's maybe not right, but I do think there's something to it. Speaking from a little bit of experience as well, when a band is doing okay and somebody sees potential in them, especially a label, and the label approaches them and says, look, we think you guys have got something special here, we're going to we think you could be the next such and such, or we think you could do this, we think you could start to make real waves, we're going to get you with this producer, we're going to put you with this producer, we think you should. And I think they sound like a band that has gone home after one of those meetings and been like, oh my god, did you hear that?
But the meeting was with Relapse, who put out, Dillinger.
But it seems like, they think we could be some, right, we should, they're going to get us to work with a producer, and they did, and they worked with Congleton, and you're like, has it worked? I don't know if it's worked. And then they seem like a band that with each subsequent album there's been someone in their ear saying, why don't you try, and they're like, maybe we should try that, maybe. And then now they're a band that seems to be perpetually chasing something, and I don't know if the evolution is because they want to evolve as opposed to they just are like, what are we going to do next? And it's really just Baizley now anyway, isn't it? So, well, it's not just him, but he's the sole surviving member, and it seems like a swing and a miss.
Well, they released Purple on their own label. They had no label for it, they just released it, so I think
exactly. And I don't think that entirely contradicts what I'm saying.
No, but you can look at it in he's trying very hard to achieve this success that he thinks that they can do, or he just is enjoying getting a bit older and playing slightly more straightforward or catchier stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
I think compositionally they've gotten better.
He's just doing what he wants to do, and it just so happens that it's a little less antagonistic.
Absolutely. And it's not like they've not done well; they've done reasonably well.
Yeah, last time they played this old garage, so
I don't see them going to any level above that, though.
Yeah, neither do I. But you could have said that after Yellow and Green when they sold out the Cat House.
Maybe.
But for me, I think they've gotten better compositionally since this record as well. If you stop thinking of them as a metal band that did metal band that did Red, then there's a lot of stuff to love. I think Yellow and Green is a bit too sprawling. It's probably one fucking great pop metal record, but it's there's mostly kind of top heavy in Yellow and kind of bottom heavy in Green. The big songs, the big singles like March to the Sea, it's amazing.
Tied yourself up and jumped in the sea.
And then Purple is end to end, I think, really, really good, but it's definitely not the Baroness it used to be. Plus, the version of Baroness that's on Purple is the best version of Baroness musically that there's ever been. Certainly, I've seen live, and they're all phenomenal players. More synths started coming in Yellow and Green as well, which they lean even more heavily on.
Well, Sebastian Thompson, the drummer that they brought in from Trans Am,
he's unbelievably good.
Dynamite.
Yeah, he's so good, and he brings so much to their sound as well. I mean, you see them play the older stuff live, it's just like he was like the missing link. If he'd have played in all the other records, they probably would have been like sounded much better, I think.
I could really hope
for
the
me
original drummer's not listening.
Then Tim, the drummer that left after the Red album,
Mhm.
We don't even
For me-
don't even have his second name.
it's Luce. Tim Luce.
Tim Luce.
Yeah.
Oh, we should probably have left that out.
I like maybe for me he
Loose
was.
drummer. That's the last thing you want in a band is a loose drummer.
It's true.
He's the loose guitarist, so
Is he?
yeah, Tim Luce is the guitarist
Oh,
that
yes.
left after the Red record.
That's not as big a problem.
Yeah, I know it's.
So
it's
can
alright.
we put Baroness's changing sound into Pete Adams then?
Well, who knows? I don't know. I think
Because nobody knows what the next Baroness album's going to sound like now that Pete's gone.
We could put it down to fucking global warming. It doesn't matter. There's still
No,
shit.
but it does make sense though if you're going to look at it that way, you know.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I just don't think they're fucking Premier Division. Like I think they're good, but that's it.
I think they're damn good.
I think they're a great band. Although I think they were a great band. And to me, this was them coming down rather than going up.
Uh-oh.
That's what my point.
That means that
Thanks.
there's a very long tail on their descent.
You know, like most bands.
First album high and then fucking 4 album low.
That's what happens with most bands,
I genuinely think all their stuff's really good. The obvious pick would be Red Album because that's what people love. This is a band taking a chance, like I said, rolling a dice, doing something interesting.
This got a decimal point better review in Pitchfork than the Red album. This got 8.5 rather than 8.4.
Egg on their face.
So you know, there you are.
I don't think they've done anything as strong as a synth, but there's a lot of really good stuff on Yellow and Green and Purple. I just love this band. They're just one of my favourite bands.
I'd be very happy for there to be a Baroness record in here. For me, I would have gone for Red. But if it's Blue, I'm quite happy.
To me, this is like Searching for a Former Clarity by Against Me. It's maybe not their most well put together record, but it's got a lot of heart and it is trying to do something different, and it's taking a band in a new direction and seeing what they can do. You know, I mean, if being a musician is about challenging yourself, then I think they certainly did something on this record. And maybe some of it falls a bit short, but I love those moments. I love the imperfection of it. You know, I think that's part of the appeal for me. I don't want everything to be slick and polished. I don't want everything to sound like fucking Best Coast anyway, where it's just, you know, a big reverb pedal and just some.
It's funny. It's funny that
guitars,
you
but
talk about those imperfections, because for me,
there's more than one Red.
yeah, there's the imperfections in production on Red are more important and more endearing to me than the imperfections on composition on Blue, because I like the overall sound of Red more than I like the overall composition of this.
I would agree with
totally
that.
get that.
If you'd picked Red, I would have said yes, but for this one, I'm going to say no.
That's fair. I think that's totally fair.
So
I'm on
you're
one.
Blue, you're Red, I'll go Purple. But
Purple is
it
great.
doesn't work because they've actually got a Purple record. So
So you're not a fan of
Go
Purple?
brown.
Either?
Go brown, dude.
I listened to the Purple record and I never went back to it. I was like, oh, it's fine. I don't know.
I really did listen to their entire back catalogue for this. The same with Best Coast last week, and I've had a busy week of studying music, and I did not warm to their latter day stuff. Red, I'll probably keep. The rest I'll probably ditch.
What
Well,
was it
thankfully,
about?
next week it's an entirely different proposition, because the discography just gets better and better
It
in
does.
terms of that artist.
This is the past 3 weeks, or this week and next week are certainly
Contentious.
contentious to say the least.
Well, we had to mix it up a bit because
Yeah.
there's far too much consensus.
There was people were voting for.
Well, in
everything.
these fractured times politically, we should reflect that with fractured opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the spirit of fictitious, hostile, entrenched debate, we're going to cover Animal Rights by the recording artist known as Moby next week.
It's going to be a good episode, to say the least. And it's probably going to be short as this one as well. So
I enjoyed.
if not shorter,
It's
I've got my fucking
I've got
way with it.
10 pages of notes. So
You're only going to need 5.5, mate.
I enjoyed talking about Baroness though. It gave me a good excuse to go back and listen to the riffs.
They have riffs for days, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't deny that.
just really bad.
Do you know what we
bad
didn't
days.
talk about? We mentioned them a few times, but we didn't actually talk about Mastodon too much.
Yeah, which I thought you guys would have done more of. I'm
Yeah.
nonplussed on Mastodon, to be honest. Leviathan's
I
a
think
fucking
so little of us.
Leviathan's such a good album that it's just
Leviathan is
I've
an
just nothing
absolute
else I've listened to
masterpiece.
can even
Remission
match
is heavier, and Blood Mountain is proggier, and
I
to
would
me they're maybe in terms of a band doing 3 records in a row, I can't think of many bands that have done 3 better records in a row.
Personally, much rather talk about Southern Discomfort by I Hate God.
Maybe we will one day.
Maybe.
That is a good record. There's also a couple of Kylesa albums that I would put forward. Saw Kylesa and Sleazy's.
I was going to say,
fucking
played some
sweaty.
legendary shows in Glasgow, yeah.
But yeah.
There you go. Got through Baroness.
Georgia's very nice though. You should go visit Georgia.
It's fucking hot though.
It's sweaty.
Yeah. Take some Bio Basher.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, guys. Go to the Facebook page and vote.
Oh, can we get some reviews, please? Just take a minute, 5-star review. Just write gibberish. Just hammer your keyboard. We don't give a shit.
Well, I don't know if Apple will let that pass, but you can certainly give it a try. Damn Apple.
Thanks though.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Cheerio.
Bye.